Yo, good morning, Friday, December 26th. I got this cool little mic I bought a while ago, and apparently it barely works better than just doing it through the phone. So, it is what it is. I have nothing scripted. Um, an idea or the Holy Spirit or whatever you want to say. I don't know what it was. It just came to me and said I should make a video. I don't even know if I'm gonna publish this or whatever. And I don't have any cool editing skills, so I'll probably just upload it to YouTube or something. Um, my name is Adam, if you don't know, and I just wanted to give. I wanted to say testimony, but I don't like that word. Anyways, about 3.5 years ago, I found myself in a hard place of alcoholism, an addiction to alcohol. My wife and counselors and psychiatrists and mom and everybody wanted me to chill out and stop. Really, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Meaning, I didn't want to have anything to do with stopping. I, by the grace of God, came to a place where what happened was people have been telling me you should probably stop, you should stop. And one of the reasons was because I was taking some psych meds at the time, which I still am, but and the counselor was like, those meds are not going to work if you're drinking. In fact, they're kind of dangerous to drink while on the meds. So I was like, yeah. Well, I was kind of desperate in a way to get better because I had suffered for the past maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I just spiraled mentally. That's a whole other story for another day. So I kind of started, self-medicating basically with alcohol. And I came to this place where I remember I was driving home and I said, all right, Natasha, my wife, had thrown away all my bottles of anything, but she didn't know about this one bottle that I had hidden in the deep freezer. So I thought. I said, you know what, I'm going to drive home. I'm going to polish off the rest of that bottle. It wasn't much, maybe half a bottle of, I don't know, vodka or something. I can't even actually remember what it was. I think it was probably vodka. And I said, I'll polish that off, and that'll be it. That'll be my last hurrah. That'll be the last drink I ever have, and I'll stop. So I go home, and I went straight back to the deep freezer outside back near the pool. And I opened the freezer, and the bottle wasn't there. That little rascal Natasha had found it and threw it out. And that was the last time I drank. I didn't drink then. So I mean, I consider that my sobriety date for alcohol. But I really didn't drink since the night before or the day before probably. Which is, I think it's July 27th or 28th. I have it down in my phone somewhere. It doesn't really matter. It was about 3.5 years ago. And I was good. I started going to AA, and I had a lot of support around me and people encouraging me. And at the time, I was not really right with God. Whatever that means. I just wasn't. I wasn't really reading. I wasn't really praying. I was going to church just because I kind of wanted my kids there, and it wasn't really a thing, a priority. I was really what people call deconstructing, which I ultimately think this is all God, but I just, without jumping the gun, I was taking apart everything I ever believed. I was starting to, because I was starting to find inconsistencies and issues and emotional stuff that was attached to some things that I just had to back out. And I didn't give up on God. I wasn't I was still holding Jesus in my hands, but it was all this other crap with like just church and denominations and what they believe and who believes that. And plus there were like some major pastors and people I look up to and speakers that were just falling, and I was very judgmental about them, not even looking at my own issues. The point is, I was kind of backing out. I was kind of deconstructing at the time. I ultimately wanted to reconstruct. I started to. It was, I don't know, because sometimes people just deconstruct and walk out of the church and whatever. But that's what happened. So I stopped drinking. Yay! Good job. Never picked up another bottle again in the past 3.5 years. Bottle, nothing, no sip, no like, let me just taste a little. No, nothing. And after about a year, I just kind of lost the hunger for it. I didn't really. And so I said, in all my brilliance, that I would stop going to meetings unless I needed them. Mistake number one. Or I don't know if it was number one, but it was one of the mistakes that I see now that I didn't. I honestly thought I was being like genuine, like, AA, it is what it is. And I still sort of think this, like, AA is not God, like it's not salvation, but it's a very spiritual program. I'm not even technically supposed to be talking about this, but who cares? What are they gonna do, arrest me? I've seen worse. So you're supposed to be like confidential and stuff like that, and just mention like, 12-step program. Everybody knows what you're talking about. So I stopped going to AA about a year after. About a year and a half after I stopped going, because I remember the last time I went, I was in Providence, Rhode Island. I was really feeling like I wanted to drink, and I went to a meeting there, and it was great, and I didn't want to drink anymore, and it never came back. The thirst never really came back. Holidays are usually difficult. It wasn't that hard. Fine. I somehow, I was going to work, and work was stressful, and I went through another short little mental bout, and then kind of came out of it, and then I've constantly been searching for something else, something other than what's here now, something right here. I don't want to jump the gun, but right here. Listen, right now. There's peace. There's peace. Don't listen to your thoughts. Like, there's peace. Yet I was constantly have been searching over the past few years for sure, something else. Let me fill it with this piece, and let me just put this piece in there. There's this hole. Jesus, no, you go over there. And then let me put this in here. No, Jesus, step back. And then put this here, and then just, no, Jesus, just hold on a second. And then that's what I was doing. About the time I stopped going to AA, what did I do first? I got into a little thing called Kratom, which is like in most places, a legal opioid. And I could not admit that for a while. It attaches to opioid receptors just like opioids. It's technically, I guess, officially not an opioid. But it works just like it. And let me tell you, the withdrawals are just the same as when you're hooked on opioids. If it looks like a duck and talks like a duck and walks like a duck, and you got it. And I use the excuse like, well, it's a plant and it's whatever. Yeah, so is cocaine. Anyways, I use it's plant, it's natural, it's good. And I started mixing these drinks and making them and whatever. And it kind of what it does is it kind of lifts you up. And you're like, oh man, I just feel good and peaceful and everything's great. You weren't high or drunk or anything like that. It just makes you feel good about life, I guess. But it's false and fake and whatever. So, but then you kind of come down from it, and then you take more, and then you come down from it, and you take more, and you come down from it, and you take more, and then it stops working, and then and then they came out with this concentrated form in these little tablets called 7 ohms. 7 ohms. Yeah, something. 7-OH something. It's some kind of, I don't know. They took out all the good little particles or whatever you call it of kratom, and put it all in this one little pill that you could just chew up, and you're like, give it about 20, 30 minutes, you're like, ooh, yeah, like you're not high, you're not drunk, you just feel good. Just like an opioid. I spent, at my worst, about, I hate even saying it, let's see, almost $100 a day on this shit. $100 a day. And I'm wondering why bills aren't getting paid right, and I'm wondering why the money's not lasting as long, and I'm wondering and Natasha's wondering what's going on, and why don't we have enough money, and we just got paid, and where did the money go, and I'm just, I had to do this, and this bill was a lot, and lies, and the bullshit. If that wasn't enough, a buddy of mine one time was like, you look a little like, I said something like, man, I just can't focus. Now, I have been like literally clinically diagnosed with ADHD, if you couldn't tell. But I said that to a guy one time, that I was like having problems focusing. I just felt a little foggy brain. He goes, I got something for you. So he gives me like a couple Adderall. And I took like half of one or something. And I was like, oh, this is nice. I feel focused. I feel energized, energetic, like motivated. I feel this is nice. So I took those, and then I took the rest of the couple he gave me. And then I wanted more. So I bought a few more from him. And then I'm like, all right, this guy's like getting these off the street. They look funny colors. It could have fentanyl. I'm not doing this anymore. So I went to my doctor and I said, hey, I've been diagnosed with this. And she asked for proof from the psychologist and stuff. And I got all the paperwork and all the stuff. I was legal. I got some Adderall. Yay. And I took it as prescribed. And it was good. It was fine. It was great. But it started making me like really like actually feel jittery. And I didn't like that. So I've heard great things, literally reading an ADHD book about Ritalin, which is a very similar product. What I've noticed though is that like Adderall doesn't really like do it for me, if you will. It doesn't have the same sort of addictive property for me. I don't know why. But I found out very quickly that Ritalin does. I was taking it as prescribed. Swallow, whatever, half a pill or whatever it was. I don't know. And I was taking it as prescribed for probably the first month or half a month or something like that. Oh, I remember I took a few little extra. And I was kind of short. And I dive bombed into this like depression, and I just didn't feel right, and I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin, and like I didn't know what it was, and I was like, could it be that because I'm like short on Ritalin and I need some more and I'm getting it in a few days and whatever, I don't know, but I just don't feel right. And then it came time where I could get another prescription, because they only allow you like 30, or 60, like 2 a day and whatever, and you can't get any more because it's a narcotic. It's like a legal. Some people say it's like a legal meth or legal cocaine. I don't know. To be honest, it's a stimulant. It's a narcotic. At the same time, when all this was going on, I really liked it because I was having a really hard time with fatigue. I was having a really hard time with fatigue. I would sleep 8 hours a night, and then I would wake up and I'd be falling asleep at the wheel at 12 noon. I was going through with my doctor, figuring that out. Long story short, my testosterone was low and stuff. She gave me testosterone injections, and I got a sleep apnea machine because a CPAP machine because I found out I had sleep apnea. So I'm like trying all these things, the right things to do, but it wasn't good enough. I found out that like Adderall and Ritalin really perked me up, made me feel good, maybe get some things done, whatever. Right? Still all false sense of whatever, because once it wears off, you kind of nosedive. So what I did was, I got that other prescription, right? Taking as prescribed turned into not taking it as prescribed, taking more than I should per day. I was working overnights, DoorDash, and I was trying to stay awake. These are all the excuses that I was giving myself. Well, I need to wake up. I need to be awake. I need to make money. I need to. Oh, because I forgot to mention, about 8 weeks ago, I lost my job. And I've been looking for a job since. So I'm DoorDashing and Ubering and whatever. But like half of that money, at least half of that money, was just going to drugs and bullshit. So it would just make me work even harder and do even more and do even more. And I ended up somehow went from swallowing the pill to crushing it and snorting it. I was snorting 9 Ritalins a day. I was just hype. I don't know what you call it. I was, and I thought I felt good, you know, and I just kept doing it. Well, the time came where I ran out really early. I mean, 9 a day? Yeah, you're going to run out. When you're supposed to be taking 2 a day, you're going to run out in like a week. So I ran out and I was struggling. I was faced with withdrawals and I knew that's what it was. And I called a buddy of mine. He didn't have Ritalin, but he had Adderall. I spent $180 on, I think about 10. $180. When I can barely pay my bills. I knew somewhere that I had, somewhere deep inside of me, that I had a problem, but I couldn't stop. I don't remember what happened first. I knew I felt out of control. It was just kratom, and pills, and snorting, and what I was trying to sustain something that was a lie, that wasn't even real, that wasn't even like ultimately peaceful. Natasha, a couple weeks ago, said, I saw you send $180 to somebody. What was that? Now, you gotta understand that Natasha and I have been on the rocks. Ultimately, I've figured out that it's 98.2% my fault. I just made that up. It's my fault. Because of like all this stuff, and we got in arguments about it, and I would deny it, and I would just, it was other things too, but it was that, you know. She says, what is this $180 you sent somebody? And I said, I just told her. I said, I bought some Adderall from blank. And she said, are you abusing Ritalin? Oh, I said, because I said I wanted to hold me over till my Ritalin prescription comes in. And she goes, are you abusing Ritalin? And I said, yes. I just said yes. I mean, I didn't try and, that was probably the start of something amazing, actually. But she got the pastor involved, and a friend and sort of elder woman, deacon, elder, I don't know. She's a good friend of ours and a good friend of Natasha's. And they did a little phone call with us like the next day or a couple days later. It was basically decided that I needed to get sober, that this crap had to stop, and that Natasha and the girls were going to go somewhere, like without me, for a while. And it was the hardest, besides like my father dying. They're really up there near the same level. It was probably harder than that. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. To watch my wife pack up the girls and her and just leave. I downward spiraled. I dove into a deep depression and anxiety and withdrawals, all in a crazy storm. I kept the shades pulled. I stayed in the bed. I barely ate. I lost 15 pounds. And I would lay in the bed as the house was empty, quiet, lonely. I would lay in the bed and just shake and shake, and I couldn't hold my phone, and I'd try and talk to Siri, and she was frustrating because she wouldn't do what I wanted her to do. And I reached out to everybody, friends, psychologists, doctor, another doctor. I just needed help. I was this close to checking myself into the ER because I thought I was dying. Felt like a rhino was sitting on my chest, and I was shaking and convulsing, and my everything would just like tighten up, and I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't see, and I couldn't, like, it was just all, well, I could see, but it was all, I didn't know what the hell. I didn't know if it was withdrawals, anxiety, depression, all of it. I don't know. I didn't know. I think the answer to that is yes. It was everything. My family's gone. My wife was no help. And I don't mean that as a diss. She did the best thing she could have done for me and basically said, I'm sorry you're going through this. But what would you like me to do? Like, what, she was done. She has stood by my side through the biggest amount of bullshit that I've put her through time and time and time and time again. She finally said, I'm done. Took the kids and left, and I'm in the bed with just massive amount of withdrawals and anxiety. Literally yelling out. My neighbors probably thought I was crazy. Yelling out, God, help me. Jesus. And I knew I didn't deserve it. You know why? Because for the past year, I pushed God further away and further away and further away and further away. I got into Eastern mysticism. I got into Hinduism and Buddhism, Zen, enlightenment, non-duality, all of that. Now, as a little side note, it doesn't matter about the side note. It really doesn't. Jesus is king. What I've ultimately thought of is that Jesus, over the past year, as I pushed him further and further and further away, he eventually just let me. He just said, fine. I heard a guy in AA the other day say, you go out, you come to the edge of the mountain, and God pulls you back, and you go out, and he pulls you back, and he pulls you back, and he pulls you back. But the slack keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, till eventually he doesn't pull you back anymore, and you walk off the face of the mountain. I walked off the face of the mountain, and I was in free fall. I didn't know if I was going to hit the ground. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was crying out to Jesus. And I'm laying there, and God says, He says, I'm here, and I love you. I honestly still can't believe it. I was still shaking and stuff, but I started to calm down. I fell asleep eventually. I woke up at some point. I was still struggling a little, but things seemed like they were on the up and up. No, well, not yet. I didn't know what was going on. But I did have a buddy pray for me. I didn't have him. He just, we were talking, and he prayed for me. And he specifically prayed. He's a doctor. And he said, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. These withdrawals aren't a joke. They're for real. But he prayed that they would stop, that they would cease, that I would feel better. They completely went away. the hunger for drugs went away. The hunger for alcohol or whatever, or any kind of substance went away. I stopped shaking. I got like my mental capacities back. I started feeling better. I started thinking better. I started being encouraged by the Spirit of God. I started just completely. I went to bed that night and woke up like a different man. I'm going to say more on this sometime. I went and stayed with my mom. The girls came home. And long story short, I wasn't sure if I was going to see my kids on Christmas. But I prayed about it. Natasha prayed about it, thought about it. We came together on it and decided that it was a good idea for, at the very least, my kids to see me on Christmas. So I came home. And it was really good. God is faithful. People say that God is faithful. No, God is faithful. He is faithful. He's the epitome of faith. God is loving. He loves you. He loves me and us and this family. And what the enemy meant for, what does it say? Like the enemy meant for evil or wrongdoing or whatever it says, God turns it around and makes it it just changes it, makes it a good thing. That's my paraphrase. I got a Bible somewhere, but I cannot believe the grace that God has. And he's not done with me. He's not done with you. And he's not done with the Combs family. I love you guys. And anybody that is going through a similar situation, there is hope. There's hope, first and foremost, in Jesus. There's hotlines, which I wish I had some here. There's AA. Even if you're like, well, I deal with a drug habit, AA will help. The community, the information, all of it. Yeah, it'll help. NA, I haven't heard great things about. So AA has been fantastic. People, surround yourself with people. Go to a church, even if you don't believe in God. Just go to a church, tell people what's going on, and they will, God, hope they should come around you and help out if you find a good church. You got to tell people what's going on. You can't be solo dolo. You got to do this thing in community or you're not going to make it. Let me take that back. You may make it, but you're going to white knuckle the whole thing and it's going to be hell. Surround yourself with people that love God and love you. And go to meetings. And stay away from bullshit, because it's a lie. Thank you guys. I love you. Merry Christmas.